Nerdie Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and joining me today, a man with a cooler head than Draymond Green, one of my good friends, Scotty Pierce. How are you doing, Scotty?
Very good, very good. Yes, much cooler, I believe. I think most of us are.
I think every man in this world is. But you know what? Honestly, let's jump to it first. Why not? It was what happened last night. So this is Tuesday. Literally, the Cavs and the Knicks are battling it out for Game 2 right now as we speak. And so is the Hawks and the Celtics. But to be honest, that's
Yeah.
a double-digit dog, and we thought the Celtics would sweep. So I'm not even interested in really talking about that too much. But maybe it'll come up. But let's talk about Domantas Sabonis having a good time yanking at Draymond Green's feet. Were you able to catch that live, or were you sleeping on the East Coast?
I was sleeping on the East Coast. I watched the whole first half of the game. Halftime, it's close to midnight here, so that's when I normally call it quits for the West Coast games. Obviously, watched a lot of highlights and some talk about it, so definitely quite a highlight. On the game part of it, I was happy to be proven right so far. I know
All
most
right.
people picked the Warriors. Vegas picked the Warriors. Obviously, the series is not over yet. When I say it doesn't start till the road team wins, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be the big subject. I mean, Draymond, let's just quickly cover the game. Impressive win by Sacramento. A young team. They got the coaching experience. Mike Brown, coach of the year. Shout out
Mm-hmm.
to him. But so he's doing a great job. He's got a young team with no playoff experience really, playing well. You could have easily been overwhelmed. So I give them tons of props for that. But I think we got to get up into Draymond Green. And at this point, I think the question is he worth is what he gives you worth what he takes from you? Because this year particularly, his stats are a little down. He's constantly getting in trouble, and you could point back to Jordan Poole being punched in the face. The team has never gotten over that. I don't believe so. You could see it. The chemistry's not there.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole, by the way, where are you? Did he get punched again or something? Was he knocked out? I don't know. Did somebody knock him out before the game? Maybe a different fan punched him because he's been gone for the series.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, if we just had one more score, we'd be so good. Yeah, it's that $130 million sitting on the bench that's collecting dust right now. I don't know. This is not
Sounds
looking
like
good
my
for
man,
Golden
Duncan
State.
Robinson. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
But yeah, going back to like the good stuff, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, best backcourt like ever. They scored 70 points in game 1 for two guys that have never played before. That's like in the playoffs. Never playoff
Yes.
debut. That's super, super impressive. And of course, as we mentioned last week, the Warriors losing 2 games on the road shouldn't be surprising. They were a shitty road team all year. They really need to light their fire and win those 2 home games coming up if they got any chance of competing. But it's a pretty close series still, I think. I mean, both games were really, really tight. Uh, Draymond Green getting ejected with 7 minutes left. To be honest, though, like players just know what they can do and can't do with Draymond Green. Nothing was better than seeing De'Aaron Fox literally like cross him up. I mean, nobody,
Hmm.
just like you said, like every single man is cooler than Draymond Green. No man in the NBA
Yes.
can literally keep up with Fox. Like he's so quick. But to make somebody like Draymond Green like look silly isn't hard. But Draymond's a solid defender. He's just not as quick as De'Aaron Fox is. But this matchup is really tough for them. They need their depth. But somewhere you were saying like Jordan Poole, role players typically don't play good on the road. So for Jordan Poole to struggle early, not surprising at all. Steph actually had a decent night, but based on his like typical projections, actually pretty ice cold. You need him to be lights out. You need him to pull
Yeah.
off like 30 points, 40 points. Like you need a lot from him. But yeah, this team, it's tough. It's tough. I can't see them winning right now. They need to do something. But similar to what you
Yeah, I
said
agree
with
with you.
Draymond Green. So Draymond Green, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I think it is. I mean, you're not going to change him. You
Yeah.
know, you even ask anybody who's asked him about what happened in 2016, where the Cleveland Cavaliers won their first championship. He doesn't regret it. He doesn't think it was a bad move. Like it's just who he
Sure.
is. And Domantas Sabonis definitely like antagonized him right there. Like, but he knew what he was getting. And Draymond Green calling everybody a pussy on the bench was nothing surprising. But let's what do you have to say? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the Steph thing. Obviously, he was the best of them, so I don't mean to pick on him at all. But he was 3 for 13 from three.
Yeah.
Like in the playoffs, for this team to win, for this Golden State team, he's got to be closer to 35, not 27.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to shoot closer to at least 40% from three, or they just don't got enough firepower to keep up the Kings. Best offense in the league would have been record best offense ever as far as per 100 points this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they need more of that. Yeah, maybe I'll go a little overboard to say is Draymond worth it, but
No, I
yeah, they
get it.
have to
That's
figure out
fair.
something there. I say since all season the team has just been off, and they're the weirdest team. Like I can remember in my life, I don't want to go back like too far, but in recent my life, like
Warriors.
I've never seen a team so good on home and so bad on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so you could say, well, not surprised they lost two in a row on the road because they were terrible on the road all season. Had won I think 3 games against teams above 500 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So to say they lost two in a row to a good team, if you put it in a vacuum like that, that's not surprising. But they are the road team. So how do they win this series is a question. They have to obviously they can't lose at home. That's a no-brainer. And assuming they win their 3 home games, which one do they win? Game 5 or 7? They have to win one of those games. They're a road team. So how are they going to win on the road? Because you mentioned Jordan Poole. That's a good point. Role players play much better at home. Let's say Golden State wins the next two. I actually think they will win the next two, even though I'm still picking Sacramento. I'm not sure if it'll be 6 or 7, but I'm taking them in the series.
Yeah.
How does Golden State get a road win? That's what they need to figure out. What can they do? What can they change to get a road win? And I don't think it's stopping Fox. I can say that much because they just don't have anybody that can guard him.
They're not even going to stop Fox and Golden State. There's no way. So
Yeah.
before we go on to another series, because this one's exhausting. Even though for me, like that was one of the most exciting game ones like ever. That game was incredible. Game 2 was pretty close too, and having the Draymond Green fiasco like adds a little entertainment for some people. But I'll take Game 1 all day. And if you're going to beat the Golden State Warriors, you need to play good defense. And we talked first podcast, I was like, all right, the Kings are going to need to score 130 points a game to beat these guys because they're going to light it up because they're playoff tough. They've been there before. But the Kings are the team that has had the most consistency during this regular season. No team has played with each other more than the Kings. And on the flip side of that, that was the opposite with the Miami Heat. So during the regular season, I was, of course, a Heat fan, but I'm typically not really a biased fan. I feel like I'm pretty fair with my teams. So
Mm-hmm.
we had the Heat had the most injuries of all 16 of these playoff teams during the regular season. So I thought, okay, we're coming into the playoffs healthy. We're going to do well. Historically, killing, as I mentioned before, destroying the Atlanta Hawks. And in that game, and it's only one game, a 1 game sample size, that game went the wrong way. And I'm like, oh shit, maybe I was wrong. I got to start believing in everybody. And then, of course, they come out, they beat the Bulls. They come out, they start competitive against the Bucks. I thought they would start hot because Giannis hasn't played in 12 games or 12 days, hasn't played in 12 days before game 1. So I thought like, okay, I told my friend like Nick took the Miami Heat to win the first quarter. Definitely wasn't surprised with that. And then Giannis, pulls his back. There's a little lower back injury. Apparently, he's gonna come back for game 2. It's gonna be so good for game 2. But unfortunately, like Tyler Hero, that's gonna be a killer. He's out 4 to 6 weeks with that
Yeah.
hand injury, and the Heat already suck on offense. That's by far their biggest weakness. If they can't rely on 20-25 buckets from Hero, I don't know, man. Do you still have full faith in the Bucks, despite Giannis's potential issues?
Well, as far as the series, I think especially with Hero going down, I don't see how Miami could win.
Yeah.
There are some teams that losing game 1 was a big deal, and they're like from Milwaukee, they arguably was a team that could most afford to lose game 1. If you're just talking in a
Sure.
vacuum, the lost. I do wonder about Giannis' injury. Now it says he's coming back, but we're not there. We don't know if on the inside he's telling the team doctors that he's in a ton of pain and is going to play. We don't know if there's any restriction to that. So I really want to see how he comes today because I got to see him play and make sure that he's 100%. If he's not 100%, let's just say he's 80% for the rest of the playoffs as a whole. Get by the Heat just fine because, again, without Hero, I just don't see how they could have enough weapons. Well, if he's 80% of himself, then the team that should be thanking God is the Boston Celtics because they should be able to beat a Milwaukee team at 80% Giannis. And I don't know if we'll get into too much of Philly later, but even though they look like they're crushing the Nets, James Harden, playoff James Harden, shows up again in game two.
Zero free
So,
throws first 2 games.
you know,
The refs aren't
you
giving
look at James
shit.
Harden, you say Philly is exactly what we thought. Embiid's amazing. James Harden is not playing well in the playoffs, so I don't feel like they're that much of a threat.
Nah.
And if Giannis is injured, that's heavy advantage for Boston because it's really a three-team race in the East. So if I'm Boston, I'm the team that's like, man, this is our year. Giannis goes down, the West is weak, and we don't feel like James Harden playing the playoffs. Like they've never had a better. I don't see a team that is better set, and they have what most people would agree, including us,
Yep.
the easiest first-round opponent. So they're probably going to sweep and have plenty of rest. Maybe not because Philly might sweep too, but
Yeah,
they're
but
not going to be worn
the
out.
Nets are at least like doing their all. Other than
Yeah.
I think they got to shoot a lot more threes. Like, what are they doing? Like, if you're going to compete with the 76ers, the best 3-point shooting team in the league, a team that struggled from three, they were 11 for 35 in game two from three. If they're 11 for 35 and you still lose bad, and Cam Johnson scores 28, puts up like 20 in the first half, you're like,
Yeah.
text me, hey, is he going to drop 40 buckets, like 40 points tonight? I'm like, maybe. That's the brilliance of not having to rely on Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Like Bridges and Cam Johnson can go out there and be number ones. But yeah, we know like of all these playoff teams, the Nets are clearly the worst team. They're not set up for this. They were mediocre. They were what, 13 and 15 with this new club. Like the
Yeah.
76ers, there's not much to talk about until next round, but I think like Boston's at least excited that Embiid's getting like at least working,
Yeah,
and the
he's
Nets have
working.
to at least make James Harden work on defense. Like they're just their game plan's not there. I understand they don't have a star. They don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, but the game plan's not there. Their coaching's not doing well. But one thing I think we'll flip back to the Bucks. One thing 2 years ago, Giannis Antetokounmpo got injured in the finals versus the Suns, and guess what he did? He put up 50 points injured. I'm like, okay, finally Chris Paul's gonna do something here. Finally, he's gonna
Yeah,
get his championship. Giannis can't possibly be like you said, 80% of Giannis. He can't possibly do it all. They're going to need 50 from him. And guess what? He got 50. This man is incredible. This man's a robot. Like, nobody's as strong and fit as this man. I looked up his injury today just to see what's going on. Apparently, he's still optimistic for game two. Come on. Like, you can't bench him. Like, how the Miami Heat going to get past this guy? It's unbelievable.
yeah. No, that would be a question that I would actually consider, and I know this is like super high risk, high reward, so to say. If I'm Milwaukee and say Giannis says, you know what, it's just a resting, nothing's broken, it's purely a contusion, which contusions are basically just a bruise you need to rest. Would
Rest.
you consider resting him
Rest.
and say, you know what, I think we can beat Miami in game two at home with a heads up, like our role players now know
Yeah.
it's like, hey guys, we need you to step up. And worst case, if by chance we go down to 0-2, we think we can win four straight, then with Giannis 100% healthy.
Of course. They definitely can. Like, Jimmy Butler and Bam aren't enough. I love this team. They're great. Max Struess, all right, he may score 20 every other game. Best case scenario. Gabe Vincent somehow backed up Tyler Hero once he got injured. Victor Oladipo hopefully can come off the bench. And damn, if only Duncan Robinson can come in and hit 4 threes, this team would actually be solid. But they don't have that. They're not there. Caleb Martin's not enough. It's Kyle Lowry's old and slow. He can't keep up. I can't imagine him versus De'Aaron Fox. That would be rough. But yeah, I would rest Giannis. I would rest him. Like, come on, what are you doing, man? You got enough. You got Drew Holiday. You got Brooke Lopez. You got Chris Middleton. You got a good team. You got the best team in the league with Giannis, sure, but like, even without, you're way better than the Miami Heat. Like, oh,
Yeah, I don't
we'll
have the
see.
record in front of
We'll
me, but
see.
I'm pretty sure they had a above 500 record when Giannis didn't play this year, which actually would have been like better than the Heat's record. So they can win without him, especially with like heads up. And that first game, you mentioned the first quarter, like the Milwaukee comes out super rusty, even before Giannis' injury. They're just missing every shot. They clearly you could see just the rust all over everybody, but not just Giannis. The shooters, they couldn't hit anything. If they had Giannis the whole game, maybe they could have come back at halftime. But the first half was just kind of shot.
But I guess you don't want to go down two. You don't want to go down two. especially home. You don't want to rely on having to win in Miami. Miami's got a sick home crowd. Some people think they're just filled with celebrities, which there's a bunch of celebrities in front row. They're what like most people think the LA Lakers fans should be, but LA's got some diehard fans. I'm definitely a far outlier, as we've mentioned many times, being a New Yorker, being a Miami Heat fan. But seeing Tim Hardaway Jr. as a little kid, seeing Alonzo Mourning, that was my team. And then all of a sudden, I fell in love with Dwayne Wade in college at Marquette, and then he came over. They got Shaq. They win a championship. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this team's amazing. Way before LeBron and all that. But once that I did want to bring to the nerdy sports fans, which is why like coming into this playoffs, I thought it would be fairly competitive. You really didn't know, and then I dug into it. I'm like, all right, it's really just the Bucks to lose. And then if a Giannis injury happens, it's the Celtics, as we mentioned. But during the regular season, we had the lowest point differential in an NBA season since Michael Jordan got drafted in 1986. The Boston Celtics had a 6.5 point differential, meaning they're beating their opponents by 6.5 points on average a game. So like all these games are pretty close, basically in the regular season. Even we're talking about the Warriors and the Kings series and how bad the Warriors did. There's only 4 game differential between those teams. It's pretty close. Like nobody absolutely dominated. The Celtics had a pretty good year overall, but nobody was like outlandish. So I really want to talk about the Knicks and the Cavs, a team in the Cleveland Cavaliers where maybe I was a little too bullish on. So I know game one, you could overanalyze things. Game ones sometimes are extremely different than the rest of the playoff like series. But that was really bad. I'm not gonna lie, that was really bad. You had your Donovan Mitchell game, who put up so far the best performance of any individual player in the first round, even though we only have one game for most of these clubs outside of the 76ers, and that's the Warriors and the Kings in the first round. Where's my paper here? So Donovan Mitchell got 38 points, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, 6 threes, 3 steals, and 2 turnovers. Nobody's had a better game than that so far. But the Knicks, literally everybody out of Josh Hart, had an underperformed game. They were ice cold. But as a team, and I got to give Tibbs credit here, he absolutely dominated the game plan over JB Bickerstaff on the opposite side. JB, first time head coach in the playoffs, couldn't get like his offense moving. It was so stagnant. Mobley and Garland got absolutely shut down. But Scotty, what did you take away from game one, and what do you think's happening right now behind us in game two?
All right. Well, I'll be honest with you. I agree with what you say, overreaction with that.
Yeah.
And I'd say you look at all 8 series, East Coast, West Coast. There's shocks like Phoenix losing game one was pretty shocking to some people, and myself definitely. A lot of people thought Golden State would win at least one of the first 2. You look at different shocks. It's not so much that they lost game one, that being the Cavs, but I hate to be the guy that's the super person of the moment. This was the only series that after game one, I want to change my pick. I said the Cavs win. Now I think the Knicks are going to win.
I agree.
I was that convinced by a single game, more than any of the series. So I was like, oh, I just picked this wrong. I'm just wrong. We spoke before the series started, all the series, and we went through our picks, and I picked the Cavs. I'll say right now, I was like, no, after one game, I'm convinced the Knicks are going to win.
Yeah.
The regular season, to me, is not a big deal, but if you do count it, the Knicks won 3 out of 4, including the last 3, which is more important, to win it later on in the season. So now they've won 4 straight against them. Like you said, they shot 27% from 3. They had more turnovers than the Cavs, and yet they still beat them. And they beat them. It's not that they dominated the lead. The biggest lead was 12. But they took the lead with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The Cavs did not get a lead back until 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Cavs only had a lead for a total of less than 2 minutes in the game. It was mostly like 7-8 point game, but it was just the Knicks the entire way. It was all Knicks. Mitchell played a great game. Like I said, most of the Knicks except for Hart didn't. They shot bad from 3. They had more turnovers, and they still, I don't want to use dominate because it's not they had a dominant lead, but they led for about 44 minutes, 46 minutes, somewhere around there. I don't have the exact seconds in front of me. It was like 45 and change. Like they played I don't know. That was the only game I could say I walked away. Like Phoenix, I still feel they'll be 100% going to win just because they lost. All my other predictions, I'm very confident in. That game, I walk away. Like, nope, got that one wrong. I think the Knicks are going to win, and I think they're going to lose tonight. Honestly, you asked what's behind us, but I
Kind of
think they win
happy.
the series. They stole one. They stole home court. I
Exactly.
say they lose today. They go home to New York happy. They win the two there. They probably win in six.
Yeah. Well, I definitely still hope it's a 7 game series. I mean, I was a little outlandish saying Cavs in 5, but I was more like just hopeful. I thought Evan Mobley would have a great series. I thought he would be a little tougher, but if you really think about it, like Randall just pushed him around, man. And
Yeah,
statistically speaking, if you look at just the stats, that's what I mean by pretty much everybody outside of Josh Hart had a bad game. Julian Brunson had foul trouble early, so he wasn't able to like put up those solid numbers, but he had a really good game. This man is
yeah,
cool, calm, and collected. He's the perfect man for Tibbs. I feel like Tibbs hasn't had a more perfect fit since maybe Jimmy Butler or Derrick Rose, honestly. Um, this man is just exactly what he wants. And for Tibbs to be such a hothead coach, but he demands excellence, he demands a hustle attitude, and this team just fits his role. Hartenstein off the bench, just being a monster. Like this team is just more aggressive than the Cavs. Now, if the Cavs can figure out how to get Garland open looks and not rely on just Mitchell, if it's the Mitchell show, like go ahead. They're gonna lose all day. But if
yeah,
they could, you know, get Mobley a few more floaters, if I thought Mobley and Allen would be a problem for Randall, and Randall's like, nah, I don't care. I'm stronger than you. I'll hit the threes. I'll hit the step back. RJ Barrett had a trash game. I don't
yeah.
think Quickly's had a worse game the whole series, the whole season.
He
Like
might be
there
six
were
man of
so
the
many
year.
bad
He went 0 for
performances
5.
throughout the Knicks, and they still won with
Mm,
Mitchell having the best performance of the first round. Like, how much more can you expect of the guy? They need more from Garland. They need more physical presence. But yeah, I'm nervous. So let's switch to the Suns and the Clippers. So you said you still feel the Suns are going to win.
I
What
do.
do you think? What do you expect out of them game 2 tonight?
I expect the Suns to come out and I expect them to win. I'm not going to say like a blowout or anything. I'm not going to guess the score. I do expect them to win.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they went down 0-2. You know, I mentioned that the Knicks game is the only game I flip because, you don't want to just say, oh, every team that won game one is going to win the series. That would obviously be crazy.
Of course.
But,
Yeah.
Westbrook has not won back-to-back playoffs games since they were in Oklahoma the last time they were there, and they were up 3 games to 1 against Golden State. That was the last time that he's won personally,
Okay.
back-to-back playoff games. And I don't mean to just attack him, so to say, but
No, trust me. If you're
he,
gonna attack anybody, I think
listen,
every one of my fans and friends and family members know Russell Westbrook is not exactly my cup of tea.
when
But I'm not gonna lie, he's been extremely good fit for this Clippers team. They get the most out of him, and for him to go 3 for 13 and still have a dominant impact on this win, that was impressive. I'm not gonna lie. And Kevin
okay,
Durant lit it up, even though he hasn't. What was it? He didn't
he
hit a
took like
bucket for the
15
first like
attempts.
12 minutes or something. 16 minutes maybe. It was 15 minutes left. No, 9 minutes left in the second half. Kevin Durant had his first bucket, but he still finished. He still finished with 27, 9, and 11. Like
Yeah,
man's
well,
incredible.
I just need him to be a little more aggressive. He only had 15 shots.
Yeah, he
He had
definitely
15
he sits
shots.
back like
You
he's a
know,
role player all the time. He's a great fit,
exactly.
but come on,
See, Aiden had
Aiden
16. You
gets
can't
too
have
much.
Aiden taking more shots than Durant.
No,
Kawhi had 24.
right,
Like, Westbrook had 19. Durant was like seventh if you combine the two teams in shot attempts. That
shot
can't
attempts. Yeah,
happen. So I'm going to say that he's going to shoot more. And the thing is, you mentioned Westbrook having a great game. Well, I think it's going to go to his head a little bit. Everybody's telling him it is, so he's just going to shoot even more. And it's not like his
no,
shooting
no,
percentage is going to go up higher.
dude.
Maybe a little better than 3 for 19, but
I
he's not a
literally
good field
don't
goal
think.
shooter.
Sorry to cut you off, but I don't think Westbrook could possibly be more confident in himself. I think that's a man that. But that's the thing about this series. Honestly, this could be like I know the Kings and the Warriors have had probably the closest games, but every other series basically only had one. The Suns and the Clippers have the most star power, even with Paul George out. think about from an ego perspective. How many people on that court truly think they are the best player in the series? Russell Westbrook, without a doubt, doesn't matter who's on the
Yep,
court. He's like a Kyrie Irving guy. It's like LeBron, who? I don't care. I'm the best guy. Let's go. He's got Kawhi Leonard, who maybe is still a top 5 player. Like he's been injured so many times, but this
very
is why
impressive.
this is why he's here. Like this is his time to shine. And then you got Devin Booker, Chris Paul maybe, but he has a good ego, so he probably still thinks he's the best. And Kevin Durant, at least 4 guys that think they're the best player
Sure.
on the court at any given
Yeah, I
time.
think Devin Booker is a very confident guy. He probably thinks that
Definitely.
he's the best. Uh, I actually found myself angry at Kawhi, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Because he was so amazing. It reminded me how good he is, and I'm like, you know what? You deny the fans how good you are because you sit out so many regular season games. It was like this just shows us like shit. If you just played like regular season games, you could be in the MVP conversation, maybe win it. But I guess he just wants championships, and he feels the best way to do that is to be fully rested. Because I'm like, man, you're denying the fans how good you can be. I like literally forgot. I'm watching, like, oh yeah, he's this good when he's
Yeah.
playing 40 minutes for. I'm pretty sure it might have been the first time like this entire year he's played 40 minutes. Normally he's like, oh, I played 32 minutes, then I sit out a game, back and forth. Like, man, if you just played the whole thing, you could literally win the MVP. I forgot how good he could be when he, for lack of better words, tried or really puts in 100%. Like, damn, yeah, I was impressed with him. And at the same time, like I said, almost angry. Like, man, stop denying the fans. Just next year, come out, play 75 games, play 35 minutes a game, put up it, and maybe win the MVP trophy. Like, you could be that good if you really want it.
Yeah, I'm definitely the most excited to see this series. I'm a little disappointed, but maybe off the, cater my sleep schedule to this. This is why I was trying to take a little nap earlier today, but I was too excited for this Knicks game, Knicks Cavs, just to see if the Cavs can pull it out. Or honestly, if the Cavs lose tonight, they're probably done, right? But like, yeah, the Suns
Yeah.
Clippers for me, my favorite series. It's incredible. I mean, I'm glad I got the Clippers in our little pool. But before we could actually talk about that next, but for the Clippers to be like plus 385 and the Suns to be minus 500 before, like that says a lot. But we shall
Well,
see. I mean, just like you said, like Kevin Durant can't possibly lose this series,
you
especially
know,
with the star power. Aiton's got it.
remember,
Aiton's got to chill. That man can't
uh,
get like post ups. You can't have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant sitting outside the 3 point line, just waiting for Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton to have their little pick and roll combo. Like that's a waste. They got to figure it out. But the chemistry was the number one reason we were so concerned about the Suns to begin with, right?
and we mentioned with the Bucks about rust. Phoenix was
Sure.
resting players the last couple games, a little bit of rust. They were outscored by 12 in the first quarter. They outscored the Clippers by 7 the rest of the game. So to directly answer you again on how they're going to win, I think they win tonight because I just think they just play a little better as a team. They shoot a little better. The rust is off. Chemistry's a little better. Durant takes more attempts. I think that's how they end up winning this game too.
One last thing I want to talk about before we review our teams, the Lakers and the Grizzlies, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think of all 8 series, that's the only other one we haven't talked about that's actually a good series. Coming into this, it was really 50-50 for me. I think I leaned LeBron and AD just because of their star-studded talent, and I didn't really trust John Morant as a leader, especially this year with such chaos and dysfunction. But the Grizzlies were one of the best home teams coming into this series, and for them to win, for them to lose at home to the Lakers says a lot. And for Anthony Davis to have a better defensive game than the Defensive Player of the Year,
Yep.
Triple J, that was impressive. I mean, if 80, speaking of effort and health, if Anthony Davis can like keep this up, the Lakers may be able to. And like, think about it: if the Warriors lose, then it's Lakers Kings. Let's say the Lakers and the Kings both win, then it's Lakers
Yeah.
Kings. Maybe the Lakers can make it to the Western Conference Finals. Like, I don't know. We'll talk about that next week. If we get a little closer. By the time next Tuesday comes around, we're gonna have like 4 games apiece, so we're gonna have a much better sense of what's going on and less overreacting on game one. But how do you feel after one game of Grizzlies Lakers?
I'm very confident Lakers. As you know,
Yeah.
I picked them to win the series. I picked them as my third team in the pool, most likely to win behind Milwaukee and Phoenix at the time. So I'm very confident. You got John Morant injured, and a lot of people are saying he's not going to play game two, and he's definitely not going to be like healthy for the series. I just think that's too many bodies. They're already missing Steven Adams, Brandon Clark. I think that's too many injuries. You mentioned Triple J, he had
Yeah.
31 points. Is he going to
He
play
had a
that
great
well?
game, and he was good on
Yeah. So
defense too. But Anthony Davis was even better. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, what I'm saying is, I'm just talking about the scoring. Is he going to be able to put 31 points next time? Like,
Definitely not.
what
Yeah.
if John Morant's not there? Who's going to pick up the pace of that scoring?
Well, Rui Hachimura is also
Um,
not going to go lights out again. Speaking of
this
role
is true. This
players
is true.
on the road, that was insane. Like, oh my
Uh,
God.
that's best game of his career.
What
Would that be
amazing.
fair to say best game of his career so far?
Oh my God. I mean, the dude was in Washington and barely tried. Washington would have gave him up for nothing. And
Yeah,
then LeBron, I mean, not to give LeBron so much credit, but he definitely like gives him a
he
little
brings
extra
out the best.
boost. I got it. Exactly. Like you can't, no matter who you are, you can't like be on LeBron James's team and not give your full effort. Like there's something about that. Even if he
He
doesn't
makes the
say
best out
anything,
of you.
you can't
He's
like all eyes are on you. This is the time to shine. Kyle Kuzma is all of a sudden one of the best players in the NBA when he's on LeBron James' team.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron makes just play better. You know, you let's say you look at him, look at Austin Reeves. Like, I'm not saying Austin Reeves
Another
wouldn't
player.
be good on a different team, but I have to win. Like, generally, it's everybody except for Westbrook. So to say, everybody works with LeBron and generally plays their best.
See?
You look at teams they're on, they go with LeBron, they get better, then they go and they get worse to somebody else.
Fucking Westbrook,
I'm
man.
very confident in the Lakers
But
to
yeah,
win the
Austin
thing.
Reeves is an all-star on this team.
And you know, speaking of, look at
D'Angelo
this.
Russell is hot again. This team's good.
Memphis and LA shot the exact same amount of free throws. Lakers had the biggest free throw difference in the league. I think they're going to have way more foul shots in game
Uh,
two. And never, even if they don't in game two,
yeah,
they still home court. When they
definitely
get to the
three,
home,
four.
they get in LA, they're going to get all the foul shots.
Yeah,
So I think LA wins this. And if Morant is as injured as he looks, I think LA wins this in five.
yeah, that too. Morant's not only having a bad season mentally, but yeah, he's not healthy right now. That team is young. They'll come back. I don't think Brooks is ever going to lose a little esteem. So going to our teams, man. Similar to what you're saying about the Celtics before, my top teams are the Celtics, the 76ers, the Warriors, and the Nuggets. I feel pretty good about three of those. I don't think Nuggets will exactly win the championship, but that's an easy, easy win. 76ers is
Yeah.
definitely going to win that series. Celtics is definitely going to win that series. Warriors, I think it's a coin toss, as we mentioned. I feel like they could definitely come back, win a couple more. All of a sudden, it's 2-2, and we're going to talk differently about this next week. But your top four are the Bucks, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Kings. How do you feel about your top four?
I feel very good, assuming Giannis is fine.
Yeah.
Like, if there was a team that could afford to lose game one, I think it's Milwaukee. You know, theoretically, you say Boston, like one of the heavy favorites because they're not worried about it. We just covered the Lakers with the John Morant thing. I feel like they're pretty much a lock to move on. I don't know. I shouldn't say lock, that's a stretch, but like they're going to be heavy favorites at this point.
Sure.
You know, the only team that's loot down now is Phoenix, but I do feel they'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
And Vegas still has them favored to win the series, so Vegas is still on my side. So I feel very good with the all four teams that I have right now.
Yeah, I
I
agree,
definitely
man.
am confident in them, and I do think that it'll be a finals matchup between one of those four teams. Like,
The
and I'll
final?
say Milwaukee.
Sure.
Like the finals, I think Milwaukee and
You could do Bucks,
either
Suns.
Lakers or Phoenix, one of those two.
Ah, yeah, you're good, man. That's the beauty of having the first pick, right? We said
Yeah.
last time those top three were a big favorite, and I definitely feel great about the Kings. Not to go back to them again, but
Yeah.
why not for a second? They did as well in the first two games as you could possibly hope. There were close games, but they played as well as they did in the regular season. People were going to be worried, or people were worried about them. You know, are they able to keep that up in the playoffs? And so far, so good. It may be a home crowd advantage, especially a hyped home crowd like that. You know, it's been decades since they were in the playoffs, so they were definitely hyped, and I felt it through my TV. It was
Definitely.
energy. The energy was rocking. So my bottom four teams are the Cleveland Cavaliers, LA Clippers, Miami Heat, and the Hawks. Now I feel the same about the Hawks as I did before. They're going to get swept, no worries. I feel much better about the Heat. They actually have a possibility of winning this first round. Without Hero, of course, it'd be tough. But like you said, if Giannis for some reason can't figure it out, if Jimmy Butler could stay hot for a couple more games, this team's fine. The Clippers, I feel a little better about them after that performance. It's definitely I'm a little bit more optimistic about them winning that series. And the Cavs, of course, I definitely don't feel as good right now. But, we could definitely feel a little different next week. So before we wrap it up, your bottom four are the Grizzlies, the Knicks, the Nets, and the T-Wolves. Do you feel any different this week about them?
Yes, because I thought that my bottom four would all lose. And
Okay.
I said earlier, I have to
Now you think
switch
the
and
Knicks
think
may
that now
win?
the Knicks are going to win.
Yeah.
So I feel
Good
like I
job.
picked up a team, so to say. Like normally it's like a draft. You pick your first four, the best four, and I
Yeah.
feel like the same way. And you kind of assume that because the NBA it's 16 teams, that your bottom four are going to lose the first round. I feel like I'm picking up a bonus team because now I'm like, oh, I think I got a team that's going to win this round.
Yeah.
And that, in a way, if I'm just looking at a competition with you, well, then the second round, assuming Milwaukee could get past Miami, I have two teams playing each other, which means it's guaranteed move down to the conference finals.
Sure. Sure. I hear you, man. So let me ask you one last question before we go. Let's say, from a homer perspective, I'm a Knicks fan. Sorry, let's just say I'm a Knicks fan. Let's say,
Sure.
let's say I love the Knicks, and I do, I do. I know it's complicated for people, but I love the Knicks Heat rivalry. Do you see the Knicks and the Heat having a realistic chance of making the second round? I started feeling that way on my drive home from the Hamptons today. Am I crazy? I mean, you said the Knicks got a shot. I mean, not a shot. The Knicks are projected to win right now, and the Heat got a shot. Am I crazy?
I think you are. Yeah.
All right.
I don't think the
Miami
Heat could
can't
get
do it.
past Milwaukee.
One
You know,
game, too much
I,
overreacting in one game. Okay.
I if I would say they would have a legit shot, but with Hero getting injured, I don't see how they could replace that.
Yeah.
You know, if you could steal one and your team's healthy, then you got a legit shot. But losing him, your second best scorer, I just, I don't know where the points going to come from. Miami, I believe, was last in the NBA in scoring. Where are the points going to
Yeah,
come
they
from?
sucked.
Like,
Yeah, but
you
they can
know,
scrap it together. They got some guys. Come on. No.
mm,
All right, man. It
uh,
was fun. It was fun. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
no, I think we pretty much covered everything here. You
Yeah.
know, the games that weren't worth covering, you know, Denver, not worth Atlanta,
Yeah.
not
Denver's
worth
got it.
covering.
Celtics got it.
So I think
76ers
everything.
easy money. But they did. I know they sucked game two in the threes, but they did go 21 for 43 from three after the first game. So if they could keep that up versus Boston, maybe they got a shot at making the Eastern Conference
You know,
Finals. And with the way the Bucks are looking now, maybe the 76ers can make the finals. That'd be crazy.
I I would love it, but
I hear you.
James Harden game too. He showed his ugly head again. It's like that time of the year. It's almost like a springtime Easter bunny and James Harden playing back shit. That's what happens this time of year.
Yeah. Combination of Doc Rivers and James Harden. Can't exactly bet on
Yeah,
those
that is
apples.
at the second run out every time.
All right, nerdies. Thank you for tuning in once again with a little round one recap. Just game one. Not overreacting, but kind of overreacting. I hope the Cavs can, at least make this a fun series. I'm definitely looking most forward to the Suns and Clippers. But come on, Knicks. Come on. Make it a little fun. All right. And as always, Scotty,
Keep it nerdy.